Hey everybody, Adam here to give you another video update for the Astrobase Command Kickstarter campaign. Today we're going to be talking about characters, their stats, life cycles, and what that means for gameplay. So let's take a look.
Alright, so what we're looking at here is actually a more recent in-development build of the game. It's going to be a little bit easier to see what's happening inside of characters' brains that way. So most characters right now are just kind of wandering around the Astrobase because nobody's been assigned to quarters or jobs yet. So you got some people that are actually having a meal over here. But, you know, they won't have anything to do unless they have their needs to satisfy. So characters are primarily driven by their needs. So let's look at Diana Ortega here. And so they have needs like they need to eat, sleep, go to the bathroom, use the showers, they need to work and need to have social interactions in different contexts. And it's going to be really important early on to figure out how to go about satisfying those needs through the station, how those needs evolve over time, and how they're related to each other. It isn't just a matter of satisfying the needs to keep your people happy. There are underlying mechanics to every one of these needs that have serious impact. So for example, for sleep is the only way that characters can recover their body, mind, and spirit bars. And so, as you can see, there's this character who's wandering around the Astrobase, and so they're burning through their body. They're going to need to get a good amount of sleep to be able to recover this. If somebody is sleep deprived for whatever reason, then over time they'll just end up getting completely exhausted and become useless. Another example is if there are not enough toilets on the station, then somebody who isn't able to get to a toilet in time after a meal may have a spill in the middle of the hallway, right? So obviously that's not only going to cause a huge morale hit for that person, but now you've got a spill to deal with, so you're going to have to put your custodial worker on that. He's going to have to use resources to clean that up, and in the meantime, people could get dirty or sick, which is going to use water from the showers and is going to use medical supplies as well. And so And all of this is basically just entirely driven by the systems of the game. None of it is scripted, and so it creates a lot of these really interesting sort of true-to-life situations. You know, if somebody lives really far away from their job, they're going to spend a lot of time walking back and forth to it, which not only is going to consume a lot of their precious time over the course of the day, but is also going to burn through their body bar, which means that if they have a physically intensive job, they may not be as effective. If someone lives with someone else that they hate, they can become emotionally exhausted from the recurring conflicts. If someone is working at a job that you assign them to and they're not skilled enough for that job, they may end up working overtime to compensate so that they can still meet deadlines, and may end up neglecting meals or becoming sleep deprived again as a result. And so really it's very important to be able to kind of maintain a balance so that all of your characters can function properly. Another important aspect of characters is their personality traits. So each character has up to 5 traits out of a list of a little over 200, and these will affect how much they like their jobs, how much they like each other, how they go about satisfying mission objectives, and how they respond to a crisis. So this could be the difference between saving your friend from the fire or venting them into space to not jeopardize the rest of your crew. So in different situations, characters will unlock or even change these personality traits as a sort of memory over time. And actually, we just saw a conversation happen. That's actually a really good example of a situation in which personality traits are affected. So let's look at it right here. So we have Diana and Zoe over here, and it looks like their conversation isn't going very well. So Diana is bookish, and Zoe is audacious. And I guess these don't mesh very well because they ended up with a net change in the relationship of -2 on friendship and -4 on respect. So relationships are actually defined on 3 axes, which is friendship, respect, and love. And the net impact of this is basically that, you know, if these people bump into each other a lot, if they continue to not like each other, then the relationship could get worse. It could really hit their morale pretty hard, and it could even cause a fight at some point. However, since they can have up to 5 personality traits, they might actually have common ground with the other ones, so if maybe they just change the topics next time around, they might get along a little bit better. And what could happen in that case is that if they do in fact get along with other subjects, one of their conflicting traits could actually change. A kind of you know, someone appreciating someone's different perspective, basically. And now these two people their relationship could improve because they now have more in common. And in fact, that can even become a problem as well, because if relationships can be really good between two people, sometimes that can even become a liability. For example, if we're talking about two coworkers who like to talk a lot at work, they might talk so much that they get very little work done, and that becomes a problem in and of itself. By the way, if you're curious about the text in here, this isn't actually something that Dave wrote out. This is actually procedurally generated according to the traits of the characters and the context of the conversation. Alright, so for this last part I jumped into a previous build so that I could talk about character skills. So recruit applications have a series of skills that a character can have on them, and typically when they get recruited they only have a few points in a few of these. Jobs use up to 3 of these skills, and so what you're trying to do is basically assign people who have the right skills for the right job, because how good they are in terms of their skills is going to determine how effective they are, how efficient they are, how likely they are to cause an accident or something like that, how often they'll end up working overtime to compensate for their lack of skills, things like that. One of the other interesting things about skills is that personality traits have affinities for certain skills. And so what that means is that when deciding to assign someone somewhere, not only are you considering how skilled they are, but also how much would they enjoy that job. And so you're going to have to decide as an Astrobase commander if it's more important to have someone who is really good at a job they hate, or someone who is terrible at a job that they love. And of course, like everything else in Astrobase Command, you know, it's all about choices and trade-offs, because it can be really, really difficult for people to be both alive and happy at the same time. So anyway, on that incredibly cheery note, I think that's going to be it for today's video. So, see you in the next one.